Welcome to another video about the Midas Pro 3. Today I'd like to show you or share with you 5 things that I think are missing from the Midas Pro 3. The first thing I think is missing is, or pretty much what I find useless on this console, is these 8 knobs for the mix buses. They're pretty much useless. I never use them. And here's why. There's no visual representation as to the level of each send. So, for example, I select the channel here. So, bam, selected a channel. I go over here. Okay, matrix 1, scroll up. So I have to think, okay, this is my first one, my second aux, my third, and I have them all on, but I have no idea where they are. And even what happens on the screen when I touch one of these is pretty useless. I mean, there's no labels for which one's which. I have to look over here, there, make sure I'm on the same aux 1 through 8, and then compare that to that. That's about the only way that I'm gonna find those knobs useful. I literally never use them. The way I handle monitors and mix buses and all that stuff is I use flip mode right there, make sure that's turned on, and then I select the channel, and then here I use the pan to set the send level from each input. One thing that's more useful when you're trying to use these knobs, you don't want to have that selected. That's not very useful. If you get out of that and you look at the overview, you are more likely to find useful information because you can get at a glance info about what you're sending from that channel to each monitor. Number 2, what's missing? A disable button for the automation section. Some of us use automation for one service or one event. Since so many things are on the fly at our location, we don't really use automation. We load one preset at the beginning and we use it for 2 hours. We have mute groups and a really fast hand, and we're okay with mistakes every once in a while. So a mistake of hitting this next button in the middle of a show is pretty disastrous. I wish there was a way to turn that off. I know you put out a software update that supposedly added a preference to disable it, but I have not seen it. And reading through some forums and looking at videos online, it looks like that only allowed you to turn off automation on the Pro 1 and Pro 2. So please let me turn this off. I don't want any accidents when they don't need to happen. Number 3, what's missing? Here we have our gate. So I like gates. Gates are great. Sometimes gates need to be turned off. When I use gates on a vocal, for example, I would much rather have an expander. Why? Because, well, it's really rough to have a gate on a vocal, especially if it's not specifically set up for that individual. See that label? That means multiple people use that microphone. That's a wireless white. So any number of people can pick that up. Here's the gate. So I can set a range. That's nice. It's obviously helpful. But what I really want is true expander functionality. I don't think there's any reason why this shouldn't have the option to be an expander. All we have under mode is a transient gate, a ducker, or a gate. What would be really useful is a real expander, meaning once we fall below a threshold, we proportionally go quieter and quieter rather than all of a sudden dropping several decibels. Number 4, here's what happens after about 2 or 3 months of use. The paint on the faders, it simply wipes off. And I've contacted Midas about this, and I got a new set of faders, and those were pretty much destroyed within another month. And we don't have greasy fingers or anything. They just get wiped off. So, and that's all of them. They're all in that same similar condition. The ones that get used more often obviously are they don't look so good. So, you know, you spend this much money on a console, you expect a little bit better quality in terms of the faders. And last but not least, just a minor little thing to make it a list of 5. Every once in a while, or actually pretty regularly for me, when the monitor comes up, it doesn't align properly. So if you notice that load preset button, it's cut off on the right side, and basically everything is cut off on the right side of the screen. If we look at the left, there's a big black band. And I'll show you what I mean. If this happens on the right monitor, which is also a KVM switch, so if I go and I cycle through my KVM inputs, okay, now we're back. It will be forced to redetect, and it will come back without that band on the side, and it'll come back without cutting stuff off on the right side. That's great, except when that happens on the left screen, there's really not a whole lot you can do other than reboot the console. I don't think that's necessary. There should be a better auto adjust thing on the monitors. That's kind of disappointing.